Hey there, everyone. I'm Jared Humley, pastor at Revive Church of the Nazarene in Evanston, Wyoming. And this is my story. And it's spoken completely extemporaneously, so hopefully we keep in the time and I keep the important details. So I'm going to start with a call, if you will, that came in the third grade when my grandmother uh, had asked me what I was going to do with my life when I got older. And she said it as like a shocking discovery that I was going into the third grade. So I was getting so old and I had to have this figured out by now. But it like resonated with me, like I got to figure this out. I got to know. Well, I saw a movie with Nicolas Cage called Bringing Out the Dead. I don't recommend it. It's not a good movie. Definitely not a movie a third grader should watch. Nonetheless, the only thing I got out of the movie was the fact that he was a paramedic, worked 24/7, and his entire life, his entire identity was devoted to saving lives. And I was like, that's what I want to do. Because after seeing this, helping somebody out once in class, I knew that, and it's just seeing this light glow um, from the gratitude that I'd given them, I knew I wanted to help people in some way. I thought, what greater gift, what better way to help than to give the gift of life? And so that started a journey all the way through high school where it manifested to being a paramedic firefighter. And I started schooling for it right afterwards, but first joined the Marines, because that was another way of serving. And my dad was in the Marines, and it's just something we were really passionate about. Never did I realize that the motto Semper Fidelis, meaning always faithful, would mean so much more to me. But I started on tried to get my EMT. Then I got deployed to Iraq. I came back to my paramedic, and that all got squashed. My faith during this time was always rocky. Throughout all of my elementary days, I was in and out of a Presbyterian church in town, and I don't know what it was, but whenever I would pop back into the church, these two old elderly couple, they had mouths so full of silver. That's all I remember. I can see their faces very vividly, and it was all the silver lining of their teeth. They could some of the rap stars in the world today would be jealous. They I cannot remember their names for the life of me, but I just see their faces and the glow of their smile. Man, they taught forever, and man, I just loved them. I don't know what it was, but I had them every year. They seemed to just constantly change what grade they were teaching, and it was always I always had them, and so I always got really acquainted with the Bible. Even my mom, later after I got into ministry, was kind of affirmed the call in a way, even though she's not Christian, because she's like, it never mattered what it was. Jared remembered everything from the Bible. You tell him any kind of story or anything, and he just knew all the details. I don't remember this part of my life, but apparently that must be true. Either way, when I was in Iraq, I tried starting to read the Bible, and I thought that my faith really needed to be something that was important to me. I talked with my newlywed wife at the time, who I met in high school, and we had agreed that when we had kids, we were going to start going to church, because the church was going to be very helpful in creating a good moral and ethical background and raising our kids up right, so to say. That was the scope, the reasoning of going to church. It wasn't anything beyond moral living. But I started reading the Bible, but I just couldn't do that on my own. You hit like Leviticus and Numbers, and it's done. I was done. So I tried that a couple more times, just couldn't really get into it. But there was something inside me that just said it needed to. I needed more. I was hungry for the Word, and all this time I just see God's prevenient grace just showing up and kind of wooing me towards Him very slowly. Lord, it was slow. Because here I am, 21 years old, back home from Iraq, baby on the way, and we're like, I guess it's time to go to church. And so we started going to church, Church of the Nazarene, small church that my mother-in-law started going to in Cedar Falls, Iowa. The one place I won't mention a name is here because it was the most traditionalist and legalist church I've ever been to. Man, I felt a sort of judgment constantly. It was never really love. It was just, you need to change. They'd have altar calls, and until everybody was at the altar, the pastor didn't stop praying. I'm pretty sure we made some people mad there, refusing to go, not even knowing what was going on, because we were going well beyond the lunch hour. And the next pastor that came in got some flack for having too long of sermons. So I'm sure that when me and Kelly made some people mad in that church by, not singing up to sing or not actually singing the hymns we didn't know or responding to altar calls. But nevertheless, I went to go see a PG-13 movie once, and I got condemned for it. So I left the church. Kelly and I left, and we tried some other churches. Didn't work out. We stopped going all together. New pastor comes in, Matthew Tigert, his wife Candace Tigert. They're just a couple years older than us, kids all around the same age. So my mother-in-law invited us back to church to come meet him. Kelly went first, affirmed that they are some pretty cool people, and I should come. And so we started going again, became really good friends with this pastor, and I was going on a shooting competition. And Kelly had a meeting with him, and she wanted to receive Christ as Lord and Savior. And so she prayed for the first time. He still tells us, he just told the story at our teen event, district teen event not too long ago. But he helped lead her to the Lord, and he just kind of gave her the space really to do it. But when I came back from the shooting competition, we met in Des Moines, Iowa, and right when we met together, we went straight to lunch, and it's Fuddruckers, to be exact. And we sat down to eat, and she just looked at me and said, "I want to start praying before we eat." I was like, "Oh, okay, go for it." So we prayed, and that was a March. It was in March, and I noticed a change. It was instant, and it was dramatic, and in a way, I guess I kind of realized I was hungry for it too, and so I was like, I need to know this. I need to dive more into it and see what she's seeing. And so I started reading the Bible, and the more I read, the more I got passionate about it. And then district assembly that following July, during the camp meeting, is when I accepted Christ. I don't remember what was being preached. I don't think I was even paying attention. I was praying the whole time, and then they had an altar call, and I went up. I don't even know what the altar call was necessarily for. I don't know exactly what we were responding to, since it was a camp meeting. It was mostly just pastors there. My pastor friend just happened to drag us down there. So thank God he did. So we get down there, and I just kneeling at the altar, and hands are being laid on me. I don't even know everybody. I know Matt's was my friend pastor. I know his was, but man, just the burning inside of me was unreal. And so I started reading the Bible even more fervently, to the point that my wife actually went to our pastor, because before I accepted Christ, she was like, my husband could be a great man of God if he could just quit using the F word. It's his favorite word. And it was. But then after I accepted Christ, she went back to him and she said, could you pray that perhaps he wouldn't read the Bible so much because it's all he does? And admittedly, I would lock myself in a room and read in private. So I was literally gone from the family like 24/7, either reading the Bible or going to work as a cop at the time, since the paramedic deal fell through because of my deployment. But I did get convicted that I couldn't keep up with my notes. So much good and rich stuff was pouring into me, but I couldn't retain any of it. I couldn't sit and just let it marinate. So I got to a point where I'd only read until I was blindsided by something, or some kind of revelation, and then I'd stop. I'd write it down, I'd journal it, and I was done for the day. And man, I powered through Bible front to cover so fast. I had to do it again. But so we started taking on leadership, teaching positions in the church, and then I got asked during a church planting conference where churches planted churches, or the Dynamic Church Planting International. We had a vision for planting a church in a town where one had closed down about a decade ago, a Nazarene church. And we gave our presentation, and during our, we was like, what we need is a pastor, and then this vision is we can pursue it and fulfill it, a planting pastor. And one of the people in our team was like, you can do it. And I said, no, I'm not called to be a pastor. So now I'm giving the presentation, and the Lord's working on me in this. The passion for outreach, the passion for growing the kingdom was just going like crazy, and it became almost obsessive. And so I delivered the presentation, and afterwards, a good friend and mentor, Del Richters, asked me afterwards if I ever felt the call to ministry. And I was like, I don't think so. At least not this time. I know that. He's like, all right, well, the word was in my mind, and so I just had to ask. And I said, well, I appreciate it, and I'll let you know if that does come to be. So the ministers moved on. One went to Des Moines, another went to Iowa. Matt went to Wyoming, and Del went to Des Moines, and there was another pastor in the area I was connected with, Mike Collins, and so we kind of stayed connected there. But I visited Matt out here in Wyoming, and I had done another church planning courses. I couldn't get enough of the church planning and church growth, and so I'm telling him, and I'm just going on and on and on about it. And he keeps saying, well, if you want to plant a church up here in Billings, there's a need, and it's bad. There's a great need. And I was like, yeah, I'm not sure about that. And he goes, and after a while, he stopped me, and he goes, I got to ask, are you called to ministry, to vocational ministry? And I sat and I looked at him, and I wanted to tell him no, or I don't think so, like I did everybody else, but I couldn't. I couldn't get the words out. And finally, I said, I don't know. And the exact same question was being asked to my wife outside. We had no knowledge, and they had no knowledge. These just happened to be. So the next 3 weeks, I wrestled with it, and I met with Mike Collins, and went to just approach him about it. And the second I saw him to meet with him, I knew that I knew. And after another wonderful testimony about tithing that I could share at another time, I never doubted God's work or His call. So when I knew that I was called, I knew that I was called. It wasn't a wrestle. I immediately jumped on to Nazarene Bible College, got enrolled. I was 3 classes in before I realized I had to get a local license. I just dove right in. I had some confessions from years past to make to my wife. She had some confessions to me, and most dramatic, life-changing experiences between our relationship and the grace that Christ has worked through us and thus sanctifying us has been just monumental. I can't even explain it. But running low on time, I can't give so many details I want to give, but needless to say, I jumped into ministry head first without a care in the world, and here I am in Wyoming, just loving life, loving the Lord, and God's still doing a work, that's for sure. All right, 30 seconds left until this video ends, and just blessings, and I hope this met not just the requirements, but I hope that it was an encouragement as well. Peace.